Hello. I'd like to continue the discussion of phenomenology and Eastern practices. And we left off just mentioning Eastern practices, and I want to call that type of practice contemplative practice or lifestyle. And in essence, there's no difference between phenomenology, neurophenomenology, and the contemplative practices as found and expressed in, especially in Buddhism. We can use that. It's not the only one, certainly. I mean, there's others, including shamanism, which is the universal form of all spiritual types of practices. And there's universal principles that define the nature of this type of practice found in all hunter-gatherer societies around the globe. So, in fact, the word shaman means monk, if we take the etymology back, or ascetic. But those Stone Age people, those hunter-gatherer peoples, we're talking about pre-agriculture, so going back more than 10,000 years ago, around the world. Their practices were much more symbolic, archetypical. Even including supposed transit or travel to different dimensions, dream walking, or the use of hallucinogens, which is also universal, common practice. So universal types of behaviors found in all pre-agricultural societies. Anthropology is showing us this. So they become interested in what these people were doing. Who were these shamans? If they were the earliest expression of any type of religio-spiritual practice, well, first we have to define what that is, what we mean by that. So if we break it down into simpler terms, to seek knowledge, alternate forms of knowledge perhaps, than is found in the non-shamanic population. There's evidence today that we can classify cultures and societies according to that belief in that principle, that there is an alternate form of knowing or knowledge. In the West, we've lost that capacity because it's about positivism and science, material science, manipulation of the external environment. But the Buddhist journey, the neurophenomenological journey, the phenomenalist, the phenomenologist, the practitioner, is taking instead an inward journey. That's the difference. But at the same time remain connected with society and the outer world. And because of the dominance and unitary system that Christianity is, and if we look back, it's a religious system, but it's corrupted. In its inception, it was corrupted because it was a political and factional It was based on political and factionism. Political, ideological, and religious factions and conflicts between people. It was a result of a flowering of conflict between people and violence between people. And of course, it's entirely ethnocentric, which makes no sense in a broader perspective when we look at belief systems. In fact, shamanism makes much more sense because it's found all over the world with all people sharing the similar principles of this journey. It's the same type of journey we see in the hero mythology of Western culture. There's no difference. In fact, they're analogs. There's a mystical core and found in all spiritual pursuits, leaving off the word religion, and only using the word religion from now on in its negative connotation, because that's where it belongs. So what are those things that are universal to all people that all people can share? What type of practice can anyone practice and receive the benefits of? What type of belief system can all people believe and accommodate and benefit from as far as purpose and meaning in life? So we begin to see some patterns here. And we go back to the idea of transformation. From a suboptimal state, psychologically. But psychologically it seems like we're limiting this process to academic discipline, and we're not. Transformation of being. So ontogenesis. Ontogenesis, the idea that we evolve, we can continue to evolve, and the mind can and does continue to evolve if we practice. Just the idea of a muscle and muscle training is a direct, beautiful analogy. Think of the brain, the human mind as a muscle. So, can you get big muscles by thinking about big muscles or thinking about training? No, of course not. You have to do something. Just so you can't increase the capacity, the conscious capacity of your mind, of your knowledge and awareness, this ontogenesis, this development, unless you're practicing something. It just doesn't happen by itself while you're watching football and drinking beer. You don't just have it. You're not really part of the evolution. Well, you can be, but you're just laggard of consciousness. Evolution of mind, strengthening of the mind, cognitive capacity. And if we look back in history, of course, when we take it back to the shaman, the universal principle, not everyone. In fact, gee whiz, I don't know what the statistics would be of the population. A generous numerical figure might be 10% of the population would have the ability or the inclination or the circumstances to take this journey, this phenomenological journey, this study of the self, the mind training itself to examine itself, and thereby quiet the unwanted portions and maintain that pure awareness and focus, then take that energy that was used to follow all that train of thoughts, that stream of thoughts and emotions, all that energy that's not served in that purpose, following those things, is maintained and transformed uh, into a resolve, type of resolve to awareness. And then that energy can be used for any task. And moving through daily life. So the Buddhist monk does it. You can do it theistically. You can, or non-theistically. I can't help but be both because I was conditioned to be theist. So my God concept is undeniable. I can't do anything about it, even though I wanted to. I've tried, but I still, when I want to give gratitude and I feel joy, and I have to give thanks to a creator being. But it's not a personal God to me. That's the difference. I see it as the source, the creator and creation is one and the same. In fact, you can't separate them because creator only arises with creation. Otherwise, there's no creator. So this is all expression of some divine intelligence. I mean, I have to say divine. It's because it's beyond my comprehension. So me being here and participating in this complexity, this wonderful, amazing world, and however many worlds with life there are in this huge thing we live in. So like a type of energy or intelligence that we could tap in through meditation. That's as far as, in all my searches of a definition, that's about as close as I could come to a God concept, but it's also tied very much into my emotions. So the idea of seeing the beauty of life, and once you see the beauty, there's the opposite of beauty, or the downside of beauty is that life is so ephemeral. We come to realize that life is short, but this, of course, in later years too. As a youth or young person, you don't feel that way. But so the process of quieting down, taking control, re-entraining, creating new neural complexes from a neurophenomenological perspective, or new cognitive structures that provide for this type of awareness. So I mentioned a few of the goals: quietude, withdrawing of the energy back into the self, and ability to control thoughts. In other words, choose not to think and be empty awareness, be just spacious awareness, open awareness, very creative. In this sense, it's a very creative capacity. Once you're able to do that, withdraw the projections, you're still involved in the external world. In fact, you're completely involved in the external world. But the judgments have ceased. The chatter has ceased. So this is the focus of all three disciplines now. If we look at Buddhism, include Taoism in that, yogic practices, shamanism, the oldest form of any type of spiritual progression. And today, Western science is one of the most fascinating, and it seems to be a very large movement based upon literature review, is Western science is turning towards these techniques now of the East. In fact, I've seen numerous lectures at prestigious research universities around the world where a bunch of neuroscientists are huddled around the Dalai Lama like little children asking him questions. And he's a great teacher. When you get to see him in that league, he can give. He's not. He's more of a leader than a teacher. He's not really a teacher, but he's certainly worthwhile listening to. At any rate, I'm going to go practice with this axe, learning to use this as a weapon now. It's very nice. Very enjoying that very much. And we'll continue this talk later.